Okay, we continue Masechet Chagiga. We're on Tet Vav Amud Aleph, 1583 in the Art Scroll, English edition, and about 24 lines up in the Hebrew side. Okay, so we're here talking about Acher, and Acher was Tana Elisha ben Avua, who we saw when he was in the Pardesh, he saw the Malach Matat sitting there and came with heretical views because of that, thinking that no one else can sit there except HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and perhaps believing in a dualism. And he came out and he became off the derech. He completely went off, and he completely um, decided he's going to become bad. He heard a voice from behind the curtain, the pargod, the vilon, the curtain that says that he has no chance of making tshuva, and he went off the derech. Now we said already last time that it wasn't that he wasn't going to have a chance to do tshuva, but rather he's not going to get the push to do tshuva. That if he views himself as a Rasha, he won't be able to do tshuva. But if he really would have made tshuva, he would have been able to get it. Now we're going to have some stories, some scenes of Acher with his Talmud, Rabbi Meir. Rabbi Meir, this is Rabbi Meir Balanes. This is the great Rabbi Meir Balanes, Elahad Meir Aneni, that we say, please answer us. The God of Meir. This is a Rabbi Meir Balanes, a miracle worker. Till today, people get staka, and miracles happen. B'schut Rabbi Meir Balanes. So let's take a look at these fascinating stories. Sha'al Acher et Rabbi Meir la'achar sheyatzal letrabut ra'av. After Acher went on the wrong derech, he asked Rabbi Meir this question. Amalei, it says, it says in the Pasuk in Kohelet, Gam et zelumad zeh asa ha'Elohim. God has made the one as well as the other. Amalei, kol mashavar HaKadosh Baruch Hu, baruch kinegdoi. Hashem created everything an opposite, just like a man and a woman. Everything has a kenegdo. Bara harim, bara givon. He created mountains, he created hills. Bara yamin, bara naharot. He created seas, he created rivers. Amar Eloi, Acher said to him, Rabbi Akiva, Rabbi Chaloim, Rabbi Akiva, your Rebbe does not say like this. He has a different shot. Eilam, bara tzadikim, bara rashaim. Hashem created tzadikim. Hashem created rashaim. Now, is it possible that Hashem created Rishonim? I thought we learned that Hashem doesn't create anybody a Rosh or a Tzaddik, a person who has an opportunity to choose to be a Rosh and a Tzaddik. So, number one, this is Acher stating a statement in Rabbi Akiva's name. So, perhaps Acher, who wants to view himself as a Rosh, says, what do you want from me? Someone who created as a Rosh. Or this can mean, if this is actually Rabbi Akiva's words, then we can say that Rabbi Akiva is saying the potential, Hashem created the potential of being a tzaddik and the potential of being a Rosha. Hashem created heaven, Hashem created Gehenim. Everyone has two chilogim. Echad began Eden, one in the Garden of Eden, Echad began Gehenim, one in Gehenim. Zochad tzaddik. If he's a tzaddik, he's zochad to be a tzaddik. Not al chalkoi, the chelik chaveru began Eden. He takes his chelik and his friend chelik in Gan Eden. Nil chayev, Rasha, if he becomes guilty as a wicked person, natach elkam, the chelik chaveru began. He takes his portion and his peer's portion in Gehinnom. As they explain that two things. Number one, the tzaddik influences his surroundings. Whether you know it or not, being around a tzaddik has an influence on you. Being around the Rasha also has an influence on you. The tzaddik influences a person to do good, and Rasha influences a person to do bad. Whether direct influence or even an indirect influence. So therefore, the tzaddik will get his chelik and the chelik of the Rai that he was able to influence Latova. And the Rasha will get his chelik of Gehinnom and the chelik of his friend, who he caused and influenced directly or indirectly, to also do bad. Amar Rav Misharshiyam, my kira'ah. What is the pasuk? We have a pasuk to give proof here. It's a pasuk in Yeshaya. Gaba tzadikim k'tiv, it says l'chein be'artza mishne yirashun. Therefore, they will inherit a double portion in their land. So tzaddik will get oilam haba double. Gaba rishon k'tiv, and by Gaba rishon in Yirmiyah it says umishne shibaron shovrem. and devastate them with a double disaster. Okay. Another time. Acher asked Rameir a question after he went in the wrong path. What does it mean? Where it says in Pasik. This Pasik is in Eov. Lo Yaricheno Zahav Uschochichut Utmurata Kilifaz gold and glass cannot approximate it, nor can exchange be in golden articles. Omar Lo Rameir says the Amel do they Torah Shikoshin Likanoi San Kichli Zahav Paz. This is like the words of Torah, which is very hard to acquire. You have to be Amel B'Torah, you have to be working hard in Torah to understand the deep, nice gold and vessels and fine gold vessels. But you know what? Even though you work very hard to get it, but they can be easily broken like glass vessels. Glass is very easy to break. They're very delicate. You have to be very gentle with them, otherwise they can crack. Oh my Lord! Yacher said there, Rabbi does not say this. That what? Just like gold. And just like glass, if it breaks, you have an ability to repair it. Gold you can melt down, glass you can melt down, you can reshape it. So too, Af Talmid Chacham, even a Talmid Chacham, Af Apisha Sorach, Yesh Lo Takono, he has the ability to get fixed. Omar Loi, Seder Meir Ta'acher, very nice pshat. You said beautiful, Acher. That the Talmud Chacham could go back. I can do tshuva. I'm gonna lie. You can also return and become a great Talmud Chacham again. Over loy, Acher said to him, "Kivar shemati me'achorei hapargod." Shuvu vanim shuvayvim chutz me'acher. Everyone can make tshuva except for Acher. Again, he sees himself as Acher. He doesn't understand that he's a bonim, that he's a child of Hashem. As long as you think you're a child of Hashem, you can return. But he gave up. Interesting to note that when it comes to metal, if it breaks, if it was tuma and it broke, and then you fix it, it still remains tameh. But glass, if it broke and it was tameh, and then you broke and then you fix it, it becomes tahor. That's why we're saying Talmud Chacham is not just like gold; it's even like glass. Even though he was tameh when he broke, you put him back together, he come back tahor. Tahor banan. Maaseh, maaseh. Be'acher, there was a story with Acher. He was riding a horse on Shabbat, and this was happening in Tiberias. And this was where Rabbi Meir Balanes was giving a shir on Shabbos, and someone told him, according to other sources, and someone told him that Acher was in town riding on a horse. So Rabbi Meir So Meir left the shir and went to go learn from Acher, who was riding on a horse on Shabbos. And as they were talking, he says, Acher says to him, Meir, Chazol Acharecha, Meir, go back. Shekvar shi'ati be'ikvei susi, ad kan techum Shabbat. You came to the techum, you came to the boundary, you came to where as far as you can walk on Shabbat, now you have to turn back. Whether he was mocking Rabbi Meir, saying that you can't walk any further, or whether he was saying, look how smart I am on top of a horse and I can still figure out where the techum is. Or Meir was so busy learning, maybe he didn't pay attention to the chum. That's can happen when you're focused on other things. And maybe since his learning wasn't so great, he was able to focus on other things. Regardless, Rabbi Meir answers back to him, Omar Lo, you telling me to go back? Af ato chazor becha. You two go back. Let's get you back. Omar Lo said, I already tell you, I already said, I heard from behind the curtain, Shuvu vanu shuvayvim chutz me'acher. Everyone can make tshuva except for the guy known as Acher. Takfe alei midrasho, but Meir didn't give up. He grabbed Acher and he brought him into the Beit Midrash. Now, Amar le linuka. Acher said to a young boy, Pesok li pesukach. Tell me your pasuk. All right? So the young boys used to learn Torah, and they would each have a pasuk that they would have to remember, and they would say it. Now, it was used as some form of indication or prophecy or siman. So it's a machok rishonim. when they say pesokli pesukach, what's going on here? Am I asking the child for a nivu'ah? Tell me your pasuk, and that is somewhat of a prophecy, or is it a siman ledavar? Telling me a pasuk, and then I'll understand a siman, either to act on it or to reflect on it after it already happened, right? Um, the way the Shulchan Aruch and the Ramah, they go with the understanding that it's somewhat of a nivu'ah. Now the question is, if it's not a nivu'ah, and that question is it permissible? Meaning, perhaps I can see it as a form of magic or divination to be able to divine something in advance, which the Torah says is usher. So which one is it? So we're going to go with the halacha. Again, there are other ways of understanding Sokli Pesukach as if it is a siman ledavar. It's a sign and based on what happened. But let's take a look at those who say that you're allowed to ask this. Sokli Pesukach. Says the Meiri. In many places you find that the Chachamim said to the children, Sokli Pesukach, tell me your pasuk. And then they did, or they refrained from doing, based on the pasuk that they were told. There are stories in Chulin, stories in Gittin. We don't have the time to go through all those stories. They're actually very interesting. Also related to Purim. Perhaps we'll give a shear on this before Purim. A very interesting Sokli Pesukach. The Beit Yosef. Hevi et asmag. He brings this mag. Shemutar. Permitted. L'sh'ol tinok hapasuk shelamag lasot maaseh al piv. Shekamatzinu bekama gedolim shenohogu kan. So the Beit Yosef says it's mutar. It's okay. We see many gedolim do this. V'hainu she'ein bekach mashum isser nichosh, because there's no isser of magic of divining future stuff. It's not a problem. So says the Rama. Say the Beit Yosef and you have the Rama. How far does this go? The Chida brings shemutar liftoach chumash l'rot pasuk ha'olah al derech goral. You're allowed to do a goral to open the chumash and find what's on the page as a siman l'davar, or somewhat of a nevuah. The Shevet Musar, he says that when they wanted to do something and they were misupek to do it and not to do it, they used to take a chumash or a sefer Tanakh, right? They would look at the top of the page to see what it would tell us to do. So there are those even saying you can do it with a chumash or a sefer Tanakh. When I was flying to Israel this past July, and listening to a shir on the app that they had on the El Al app, and there's a shir from Rabbi Herschel Schachter, Shlita, the Rosh Yeshiva Rabbeinu Tzedek, and he was talking on this topic, and he was saying even those who say they're allowed to use the Chumash or the Tanakh, that's how far it goes. It does not go to Svarim of Rebbes or Svarim of Gedolim or anything like that. You cannot use their books to say that they're going to answer you. It only can be the Chumash or the Sefer Tanakh. And then he brought an interesting story that there was a certain person, and they had a question what to do in the summer, where to go. But they didn't have the Rebbe Sefer at home. So they decided the only book they had around was a cookbook. So they opened up the cookbook to a certain page, and they found that it had a recipe on it. All right, what I was going to find the cookbook. They looked at the recipe, and the woman said, this means we have to go to the country for the summer. Why? She says, this recipe over here, I only ever once made it, and I only made it while I was in the country. So it must be the Siman Dalar, I should go to the country. And this is completely asur, right? And it's not just even funny, it's asur to do that. Because this is already thinking I have divination, powers of divine in the future. And that is definitely not mutar. Okay, Sokli Pesukach, we see that many Rishonim say it is okay. Malachah seems to be saying that you can ask. So they went into the Beit Midrash, and Acher asks this kid, Amarlai. So the kid said to him, all right, this is my pasuk. My pasuk is a pasuk in Yeshaya that says, in Shalom Amar Hashem Roshanim. There is no peace to the Rishaim, says Hashem. Wow. So now this guy is upset. They're telling him he has no peace, no warm greetings. So they brought him to the Mishmedrash. He says to the kid, tell me your pasuk. The boy says to him, Ki im tichabesi, banete v'tarbi, lach, borit, nichtam avonech lefanai. Even if you clean yourself so good, your sin will still remain in front of me. So another sign to him, no matter what you're going to do, you're always going to be with the sin in front of Hashem. So Rav Meir doesn't give up. Brought him to another shul. He says to the kid, Linuka, Sokli Pesukach, tell me your pasuk. Here's the pasuk. Ve'at shadud matasi, ki tilbishishani, ki ta'adi adenzahav, ki tikre'i ba'puchinayich l'shav, tityafi. No matter how nice you want to make yourself look, it's for nothing. You're going to be always a rasha. He ends up going to another one. Until he ended up going to all 13 shuls that were in Tiberia. Kulahu, Paskule, Kihagavna, and they all gave him a similar pasuk that he has no chance, all negative. Okay. Livatra, when he came to the last shul, Amarla, he says to the young boy there, Psokli Pesukach Tamir Pasuk Amarla, the boy says to him, Vilarasha Amar Elohim Malecha Sepechukai. To the Rasha. Hashem says, why are you talking about my Torah? But this young boy had a speech impediment. And when he said Lirasha, Ishtama Kamada Amar Le Vele Elisha Amar Elohim. It sounds as if he said, Elisha, why are you talking about the Torah? They stabbed him again. Right? He really got hurt. What happened? Some say, that Acher took this boy and chopped him up into 13 pieces. And send the pieces of his body to all these shuls. Warren says he could come right. He didn't have an actual knife, but he said, I would dismember this boy. Acher caused a lot of pain and suffering for the Jewish people. Other sources indicate that he collided and collaborated with the Romans to either punish or kill the Jewish people. Ben Yadda says he probably did not kill this boy, but instead he took the Sefer Tehillim that this boy was reading from and cut it up into 13 pieces and sent it to all the shuls to say, hey, your guys are all saying this to me and making me never return. Try to blame them. It's always easier for a person to give up. And that was this Acher. Instead of saying, no, I'm still going to do tshuva. He hears all the signs. It's over. It's over. It's over. He's ready to give up. Interestingly, 13 shuls in Tiberia. The number 13 is the gematria for the word echad, one. And that was his mistake. He thought there was a dualism. There was two gods. And made him go off the derech. His punishment is coming. Echad, 1, 13. It's all one. It's all on HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Okay. Continues the story. When Acher passed away, Amrei, they said in heaven, Lo midan lidane, we don't know what to do with this guy. We cannot bring him, Lo midan lidane, we cannot execute a judgment against him in Gehenna. We cannot bring him into Olam Haba. Lo midan lidane, cannot give him Gehenna, mishum de asik b'oraita, because he learned Torah, and Torah is a protector from Gehenna. Even though he went over there, he still has his Torah protection. And we cannot bring to Olam Haba, mishum dechata, he cannot get cleansed. And he has sin. So he cannot go into Olam Haba. So the guy is stuck. So Meir said, Mutav dildane v'lete la'alman de'ate. Better than he goes into Gehenna. This way he'll have a chance to get into Olam Haba. Matai amud ba'alei Hashem mikiviro. When I die, I will raise smoke from his grave. Okay, an important idea over here. Why he had to wait until he died? Why did Meir have to wait until he died before he can pull out or put this Elisha this into Gehenna? Okay, so we're going to explain as follows. Give me 1 second. Okay. Here we go. I will say. All right. Hainu. So Rabbeinu Chananel says, what does it mean by my death? Hainu sheitpalel alav kodem mitato. V'katav ben Yehoyadav. He's daven before he died. Shetala davar b'yom petirato. Why is it depending on the day of his death? Ki atzadik b'yom petirato koho gadol beyoter. A tzaddik's power is greatest on the day of his death. V'chasher pirish Rabbeinu Hararizal al ma'amar chazal gedolim tzadikim b'mitatam yotor b'achihem more than when they were alive. The day of death is a very special, powerful day for tzadikim. Perhaps that explains why Yaakov Avinu didn't give brachot and musar to his children until the last day of his life, because that's the most powerful day. That's why Moshe Rabbeinu also gave the musar and the brachot on the last day of his life, because that is the most powerful day of a tzaddik's life. So Rameir says, I know that the last day of my life is the most powerful day of my life. I will use that to get Acher into Gehenna. That's what he does. Matai Amud Allah Hashem Mikivro. Kinach Mavshid Rameir. Rameir passed away. Salik Keturah Mikived Acher. Smoke started to come out of Acher's grave. Amar Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi Yochanan said, Givurta, that's Rabbi Yochanan now, is 2 generations after Rameir. And he says, Givurta Limikla Rabbein. Is it any special feature to put one's Rebbe into Gehenna? There was a student among us of Torah, and he strayed, and no one was able to save him. If I take him by his hand and lead him to the world to come, who will attempt to take him away from me? Amar, Yochanan said, when I die, the fire, the smoke from Acher's grave will stop, meaning I will get him into Olam Haba. Kinaf nafshei, when Rabbi Yochanan passed away, and the smoke stopped coming out of Acher's grave. There was a eulogist who said, Rabbi Yochanan, you're so powerful, even the guard to Olam Haba has nothing on you. He cannot stop you. You walked in with Acher into Olam Haba, and they couldn't stop you. Rav Dessler understands what's going on here, that he's taking him by his hand, is that there is a special feature by the hand. The hand of Yochanan hand would be able to extract the actual goodness of Acher. That's when he went through Gehenna for so long. Could first get into Gehenna, then he went to Gehenna, and then he take him out by his hand, take him out by the ability to show him that he's actually a good man, and that he can make the teshuvah. Let me just see if we can pull this up over here. All right. Yochanan's plan to actively draw Acher out of Acher, the sincere mitzvah he performed, enabling the good of the soul to shine forth. Holding another by the hand, in a metaphysical sense, can only occur through a soul connection. Two souls can connect not through the sharing of superficial interests, but only by sharing eternal values. Rabbi Yochanan would hold Acher's hand, but finding the beauty buried within his soul and connecting with him through it. When Acher would see the true, pure desire of Yochanan to connect with him, the sparks of good which had now lain concealed beneath layers of filth would be revealed. The blaze of the moment of his connection, the outside layers of Acher's soul will be burnt away, revealing his beautiful core and allowing him to enter Olam Haba. That's what Rav Dessler and Mechaliyahu says on that part. Okay, listen to this story. Bito Shel Acher, I tell the Kamid Rabbi, the daughter of Acher came to Rabbi. Amalek, she said to Rabbi, Rabbi, I need tzedakah, I need money. Amalek, he said, Bat mi'at, whose daughter are you? Right? Let me know where your station is, depending on who you are, what type of family you lived in, what type of family you have. Different money we have to give you. Amar lo, she said, Bitosh Acherani, I'm the daughter of Acher. Amar la, Adain, Yesh B'Torom Be'olam. Rabbi said, what? There's still his descendants in this world. It says, Lo nid, lo nechet, ba'amo, ve'en sari b'mugurav. He'll neither child nor grandchild. Amar la, she replied to him, Zechol Torato v'atzkor ma'asav. Remember his Torah, don't remember his bad deed. That wasn't who he really was. His Torah was who he was. Yad Yerda Esh, the Siksacha, Safsalo, Sharabi. Really, a fire descended and singed the bench of which Rebbe was sitting on, sort of a warning, this is Acher's Torah. Don't mess with it. B'chavam Rebbe cried, someone who disgraced the Torah, they're still protecting him and they're defending him in heaven. How much more someone who is compliant and follows all the Torah? Rabbi Meir, question: Rabbi Meir, how is he able to learn Torah from Acher? He's not a good guy. My dichtiv, ki siftei kohen, yishmanu da'at v'torah v'kashum mipihu, ki malach Adonai tzevaot hu. Im domeh harav l'melech Hashem tzevakot. If the rabbi is like an angel of Hashem, yivakshu Torah mipihu. V'im la, Torah mipihu. If he's not, then you cannot take Torah from him. Amar Shekhi, says, 1 second. Remeir kara ashkach v'danas. Remeir, I have different pasuk. Said, hat oznecha ushmat divrei chachamim. Listen to the scholars, but do what I say, says Hashem. Listen to the scholars. You can learn from them. But don't do what they say. You listen to what I say. It says, hear, O daughter, and see, and incline your ear. Forget your people in your father's house. Learn from them, but forget their deeds. Do not your ear listen, but don't learn what they do. So Kashuk Kra'ah had the day's name of Tirim Sukkim. You have some Sukkim that say you have to learn from an angel who's perfect. And one who says you can learn from anyone, just don't take their bad deeds. The Gemara says like Kasha, Habagadol, Habakatan. It depends if he's a Gadol or he's a Katan. What does this mean? First of all, who's it talking about? Is it talking about the learner or the teacher? Maybe it's talking about the teacher. Only if he's a Gadol in Torah, and he happens to also be a bad guy, maybe him you can learn from. But a Stam guy who is bad and he's not such a great Torah scholar either, then him you shouldn't learn from. Or he's talking about the individual. If he's a Gadol, he's mature of intelligence, okay, then he can learn from someone who maybe not be the perfect guy because he'll be able to separate the good from the bad. But if he's a Katan in intelligence, maybe he cannot do that. He ought to Rabdimi Omar. Rabdimi came to Israel. He said, came to Israel. He said, this in Israel. The mayor knew how to consume the outside part and threw the pit away. Darish Rava, my dichted. Elgin not because it acted the old baby Hananchal says in Shirashinim. Lavanim shul Tamechacham goes. Why is the Tamechacham compared to a walnut lumber lecha? To tell you, ma ego is that. Even though the ego becomes filled with mud and dung, however, the inside of the walnut does not. So even though he's sour and he becomes bad, that's the outside trappings. You gotta clean him up, wash him up. But his inside Torah does not become repulsive. Rashida once came upon Elio. What is Kadosh Baruch Hu doing? Amar Lei. He said, Hashem is teaching, is repeating all the teachings of the rabbis. But Rabbi Meir's teachings, Hashem is not teaching. So Amar Le Amai, why? Because he learned his teachings from Acher. Amar Le Rashila said, Amai, well, why not? Rabbi Meir was found in Acher's teachings like a pomegranate. He took the inside, but he threw out the peel. Interestingly, before we compared Acher's teachings, that Rabbi was able to take the outside and throw away the pit. And here we're teaching that he took the inside and threw away the outside. Okay, so it's perhaps then you have to be extra filtered when it comes to learning from Acher. You have to know how to filter every part of the teaching, the inner and the outer. You don't know when to throw it here, you have to know when to take it there. It's a very big a balancing act. And only Rabbi Meir can do that. So Amrulay, and the other then said, Hashika Amar, Meir ben Yomer. Now they're saying in heaven, Meir said. So the teaching of Meir's teachings. This match of the mitzvah שכנע מהלשון אומרת, כלל ימין ראשי, כלל ימין זוני. אם הקדוש ברוך הוא מסייע על דמת של רשעים, כלל וחיימה, על דמת של צדיקים שנשפך. How much more say champagne by the spilled blood of the righteous. Interestingly, until Rabbi Shela said anything, they weren't teaching his teachings. Rabbi Shela, we know that in Shemaim they follow the rulings down here. And once he said their mayor was blameless, in Shemaim they said, they're saying it's okay. So if they're saying it's okay, we will also teach Rav Meir. It's very important that we melamed zechut on others. We create in heaven also opportunities for them to be melamed zechut on them. Okay, we're going to stop it over here. The topic does continue. But we will stop it over here and Hashem pick up the next time. Shavua tov,